On page 147, guys, we've already gone over 1 through 9, so if you need those, go back and check a different video. Remember, example 3 showed us how to evaluate. Our voices should be off, we should be focused. We should be on page 147, right? You don't need your Chromebook for this moment.
Okay.
So I'm going to put A in for A and B in. So this becomes 10 minus a negative 7.
That's 3.
No, it is not 3. Yes, keep, switch. So 10 plus 7 is what?
It's 17.
Here, we're gonna put in x for x, so negative 11 minus, what is y? 26. Now you could think of this as starting at negative 11 and moving to the left 26 more. Tanner, if you do it again, you're gone. It's not okay. So, or you could think about it as negative 11 plus a negative 26. These are the same things. Remember, adding the opposite is what we do for subtraction. Keep, switch. So when our signs are the same, what do we do with them? We find the sum. Sum means that we're adding them up, right?
And then we get the answer.
All right, what's 11 plus 26?
37.
37. And is my answer going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
Excellent, because both of them were negative, or sometimes I go with whatever my greatest absolute value was. All right. Find the distance between negative 6 and 7. So remember, either way, we're finding the absolute value of the subtraction problem. So you could put it in either order. You could say 7 minus a negative 6 or negative 6 minus a 7. What did you guys get here?
I did a number line.
You did a number line. Perfect. Perfectly acceptable. So we're at negative 6. We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to 0. And then how many more to get to 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what is 7 plus 6? 13. So this would be the absolute value of 13, which is of course 13. And what is the absolute value of negative 13?
13.
Also 13. So there will be a few absolute value questions, just really simply, all of your answers should be what, positive or negative? Positive, when you're asked an absolute value question. So here, you could say negative 14 minus 5, the absolute value of that, or you could say 5 minus a negative 14. Or, again, you could use your number line. So what did you get?
I did the number line again and I got my
19. Anybody else?
I
got 9. Here are your hours. So I don't know if you're anything to it.
I always return them.
Let's see.
I return them.
Oh, there you are. The highest and lowest recorded temperatures for the state of Texas are 120 and 23. Find the range. So remember, the range is the same as the distance between the numbers. So we're going to say high minus our low. Same thing we were doing in all of those apply problems. So we're really switching. We end up with 143 degrees.
What?
Or you can think 120 to get to 0 and then 23 more to get down to negative 23. What'd you do, Carter?
Is that a plus? Or
Sorry, I wrote a negative sign on accident. It's just 120.
yeah,
Okay. Open response. The table shows the starting and ending elevations of a hiking trail. How much greater is the elevation of the ending point than the starting point? So if it's 180 feet below, if you need to draw a picture, so negative 180, it's got to go all the way to 0 before going all the way back up to 260 above. So this is really going to be 180 to get to 0, and then an additional 260 here.
That's.
So we would be adding them. Make sure you know what this problem is saying. 0 ones, 14 tens, 400s, 440 feet between the starting point and the ending point. So be careful there. Or you can always take the ending point minus the starting point. And here again, this is keep, switch, switch, so you would be adding
440.
440.
Oh, that's.
Alright, 148. I think these are very similar. The table shows the max and min. Remember, we took max minus the min. So 145 minus a negative 25 for Jordan. Good, keep, switch, switch. So we would really be adding these. So is that 170? Giovanni. Again, we don't have, this is straight up max minus your min. So this is 153. You see how I'm not switching?
Oh, yeah.
Because that one is positive, so I'm just subtracting. Max minus your min every time. And then here you are gonna switch, so 152 minus a negative 10, you're really adding, so 162. All right. The table shows the oh wait, we didn't answer the question. Giovanni claims that he had the least variation. Is that true? Did he have the least variation?
Yeah.
Yes. And we showed our work here. This was our justification or argument.
150.
Okay. So the table shows the record high and record low temperatures. Which state in the list had the greatest variation and the least? So again, we're going to say high minus our low. So Alaska is going to be 100 minus a negative 80. When we switch, there's a difference in 180. That's a huge difference in temperature. Idaho, our high was 118 minus a negative 60. So this is a difference of 178. Do you see how we switch? So this just becomes an addition problem. All of these are subtracting a negative, so we're gonna switch all of these. Nevada is 125 minus a negative 50. So you should have gotten 175. And Utah was 117 minus a negative 69, which when I switch, 9 and 7 is 16, 8 and 186, is that right?
Yep.
So which was the greatest?
Yeah.
Greatest was Utah. And which was the least? Nevada with 175. Those were the answers to our 2 questions, but do you see all the work that we had to do to find out? All right, so determine if each statement is true or false. If it's false, provide a counterexample. Distance is always positive, true or false?
True.
True, we don't have to find a counterexample. Change is always positive, true or false? False. So if we change from if our change was from 100 feet to 50 feet, we would say 50 minus 100. and our change would be negative 50 feet, right? So that's, oops, what I would do to show that, counter example. Any change from a bigger value to a smaller value, my change is going to be negative because I'm going down, right? A student is finding 4 minus a negative 2. Find the student's mistake. What did they do? They didn't keep switch. So we would say is equal to 4 plus a positive 2, right? We add the opposite. The opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So what is 4 plus 2? 6, not 2. All right, a subtraction expression with a positive and negative integer whose difference is negative. Okay, so in order for the difference to be negative, which has to have the bigger absolute value? My negative integer. So if I have a positive integer of 6, what could my negative integer be for my answer to be negative? Anything bigger than
Negative
6. So I could say 12. Good.
Yeah, 12.
And what's the difference? 6 minus 12 is
6.
negative 6. Remember, this is the same as adding a negative 12. When my signs are different, see, this is positive, this is negative, and my signs are different, you find the difference. 12 minus 6 is 6, but my bigger absolute value is negative, so that's how I determine my negative answer. If you subtract two negative integers, will the difference always, sometimes, or never be negative? If I subtract two negative integers. So if I was at 4 and I subtracted 2 and then I subtracted 2, it wouldn't necessarily be 0. If I was at 4 and I subtracted 2 and then subtracted 1, it would be positive. But if I was at 4 and subtracted 3 and then subtracted 5 or something, it would be negative. So sometimes, I don't know, that one was weird. If you subtract two negatives, oh, but if I'm subtracting negative, I would actually be adding. Yeah, don't worry about that one. That one's making you really think. Okay, so today we're going to practice using the pixel arts. So in your Google Classroom, you will see this pixel art. Okay, so 4 minus 6. So change to an equivalent addition problem. Remember, I would say 4 plus, you gotta shift that equal sign. 4 plus, open parenthesis, a negative what? 6. If I did that, what would my answer be? Negative 2. You see how things come up then?
Wait, so if it's right, it'll be.
Yes, and here, this is really gonna be 3 plus a 1 or 3 plus positive 1.
That would be.
They're really making you think about these. So changing to an equivalent, this answer is what's gonna matter most, okay? So you have several to practice on. Also be sure you're through your packet through page 148, so that tomorrow when we review for the quiz, you can use that and you'll be well prepared for the quiz on Friday. Okay.